Good afternoon. I'm Mark Elia, and I'm myself, on behalf of the New York Beef Council, I am here today to show you what I've always referred to in the industry as the cash cow. The cash cow. This, in my opinion, and through my experience, is the one piece of meat, the one subprimal, the 184 subprimal top sirloin butt, will produce you the most gross revenue of any cut of meat that's out there, based on what you're paying for it, based on everything that you can get from it, and everything that your revenue coming back into you, what you can sell it for. Okay? The New York Beef Council should be looked at as your educational arm to the industry. They're here to help you. I'm here to help you. We are both together, want to keep you in business. We want to keep you profitable. We don't want you to close your doors. We're in some tough times right now, and this is going to help you. Here we have in front of us is an item called the top sirloin butt. Top sirloin butt. This piece of meat obviously has no bone. It is all sirloin. It was removed from the hip of the animal. And today I'm going to show you why this is called the cash cow. This is 16 pounds, and today's cost was $4.60 a pound. Okay, 16 pounds, $4.60 a pound. Those of you that are watching and want to do your math, this is the time to do that. Top sirloin butt, in my professional opinion, is very undervalued. I started teaching this when I was a teacher back a couple years ago. I started teaching this to my students and showing them that it really makes sense to learn how to do these things, because we are in an economic situation right now where we need to make money. We need to count every penny that gets in our table, and the more stuff that goes into that garbage can is the less stuff that you can put on your cash register. All right, and this is exactly how I taught this. I said we have to limit the amount of waste, and we have to practice what my favorite term is, maximum utilization. So we're going to try and use everything on here. Now there's going to be a few things that we just can't use. That's the nature of the beast. You know, there are some connective tissues and there is some sinew that we just can't have. But for the most part, you're going to be amazed at what we're going to be able to do with this. And I'm going to get started right now. Okay, the bottom section here is often called it could either be called a rat or a mouse. It's really not suitable for any steak cut, but it is definitely suitable for a grind. Okay, and on your menus, chefs, on your menus, what's better than promoting what you do in-house? Example, house ground sirloin burgers. Doesn't sound any better than that. So there's a piece of meat right there that, because of its connective tissue, because of the heavy grain and this big piece of connective tissue right here, makes this piece somewhat undervalued in my opinion. But there is burger. One thing that I want to bring to your attention is there's a lot of little things that we're going to get out of this that you might not normally put on your menu on a regular basis, maybe for appetizers or maybe something special. I'm going to show you how to get these little things out of here. You do 2 or 3 of these in a week, you're going to collect a lot of what I refer to as byproduct. In my opinion, byproduct is something that's too good to be hamburger, but yet not good enough to be a steak. Okay, and the whole idea behind this is either steaks or roasts. Today you're going to see mostly steaks, because I believe that's where your biggest profitability is. So we've removed the rat. We're going to clean off the bottom a little bit more. So you have a lot of heavy connective tissue here that you just don't want anywhere. So that's going to go in our trash pile. All right. Over here, this is the bone connective tissue, that orangey color material. That's the bone connective tissue that came off of the hip bone. And that is something that you definitely don't want in any of your product. At a high dry heat, this connective tissue literally will curl up like a ball. And that's why you just want to make sure it's gone. Don't even leave a little bit. Get rid of it. Okay? Get rid of it. Okay, so that's gone. I got some silver skin here that we're going to get to that in just a few minutes. But I want to take off the top piece, this top layer of meat right here. You're going to find when we do this that we are broken down into 3 different muscles. The top part we're going to refer to as the culotte, or culotte. And we're going to take that piece off right now. Now this is the outside of the animal. This is the fat covering. This is the outside. Obviously this is the inside. So we're going to remove this. Natural seam. The butcher's world all revolves around natural seams. Separation of muscles, natural seams. Because not all muscles are going to cook the same way, as you'll see later. Okay, so now we got just about got that off. All right, we're going to just hold this off for the side for a moment. We're going to go to this. This is a culotte, and I'm going to do a little flat trimming here. That's some tough nerve tissue there, for sure. This is all not good enough for what we want to do, so we're going to look at that as a byproduct, as hamburger this time. So we're going to take off whatever red we can. This is all heavy connective tissue. You definitely don't want this. You see, whenever you see this heavy silvery colored skin, you don't want that. You just don't want that on a steak cut especially. So that's going to come out and go right into the trash. Over here, take a little bit more of that off of there. All right. Do a little bit more cleaning here. I'm flat trimming. I'm being very careful not to cut into the red, because red is bread. Red is money, okay? The more red that you throw in that garbage can, the faster you're going to go out of business. And God, we don't want to see that. So here's some more silver skin. Right here. We're going to remove that, okay? We don't want that on there. So we're going to get underneath it with our knife, our nice boning knife. We're going to push forward to get underneath the silver skin. We're going to pull the knife over our meat. Pull the meat over our knife, I'm sorry. And we're going to just take that right off of there, and that goes in the trash pile. Over here as well. Okay. Always paying attention to leaving as much red on that product as I possibly can. Sometimes it's not as easy as it is other times. Okay, again, here. Now, we got this cap, got a little bit of a fat cover on it. And, you know, today's trimming is different than when I was growing up in the industry. When I was growing up in the industry, people said, don't take that fat off. Don't leave that fat on there. But we got to leave a little bit on there. So I like to leave a ½ inch myself. Okay, so now we are trimmed. Okay, there's our culotte. We can see the grain is running this way, right, to 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, all right? And what I would like to do now is start taking off some steaks. Now, the first piece is not going to be suitable for a steak. Byproduct, okay, byproduct. So let me go ahead and take that right off, and let's put that over here for now, because we're going to use that for something else. But now I can come in, I'm looking at my grain. Now I can come in and I can start cutting my culotte steaks. I got a slight angle on my knife. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Those are individual portions right there. I'm looking at maybe a lunch special. Okay. And we'll just keep going. These could be marketed as culotte steaks. I believe that this cut is also used for a dish called piccata. And now here we got the end again. Not quite big enough for a steak. Too good for hamburger. So let's do this. Let's get underneath. Let's get it off of the fat. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay, we're going to hang on to that just like we did the other one. I'm going to take a little bit more fat off of this one because I want these to be solid red. Now I'm really, when it comes to saving money, I'm really cheap. I want to get all that red off of there that I possibly can. Okay? All right, that's trim. Now, we're going to come back to this because we're not done with that pile, but here's some really nice steaks. All right, now maybe because these are smaller, I'm not sure if you want to advertise as a petite sirloin. So this could be one portion. This could be two smaller portions. Obviously, these are nice single portions, okay? Another way you could market those, if you didn't want to use the word culotte, is you could call those sirloin strip steaks. All right, that's a pretty common term, sirloin strip steak. And I'm going to clean it up a little bit more. I got to expose the red, so I'm going to get a lot of this white off. Being very careful, again, if I cut too deep, let me go back and get it out of there. Okay, pennies make dollars. Pennies make dollars, and this is all about the cash cow. So you're going to be quite surprised when we're done with this. Okay, a little bit more flat trimming here. One of my favorite demos was doing this because my students just could never believe that the potential profitability here. Potential profitability. Now remember, I'm showing you how to do this. I'm showing you realistically how you can make money on this. But understand, just because I'm showing you how to do this doesn't mean that it's going to work for you in your restaurant. It might not work. You might not have a restaurant that sells sirloin steaks. You might be just a porterhouse, T-bone, strip loin, ribeye. There's no guarantee if anything's going to work. But in this industry right now, with what we're fighting with right now, with supply chain, unbelievable prices. I have been a butcher since I was 17 years old, and I'm now going to be 64. You guys can do the math. But I want to tell you, I've never seen anything like this, what we're going through right now. Never seen anything like this. This is why we got to be creative. This is why you have to learn how to do these things. If you don't change with the times are going to make you change, and probably make you change in a way you don't want to change. So what I did was I took off the top layer of fat. I've exposed this line of muscle, this line of fat right here that separates these two muscles. This is probably the most difficult part of learning how to do this particular cut. It's hard to find and very easy to lose when you're doing it, when you're separating. So I've located my seam. This line of fat right here is actually a separation. And I'm just going to very carefully, using the tip of my knife, I'm going to find that seam, that natural seam. And there's going to be a line of silver skin that I'm going to follow. Now, in case you forgot, this is silver skin right here. I haven't taken that off. I left it on there just so I could go back to it and show you. There's a line of silver skin that runs this whole length that separates this muscle from this muscle. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. And believe me when I tell you, this is what I think you'll find most butchers will agree. One of the more tedious cuts, because I personally like to make sure that I get all the way down. I've seen so many times over the years where they've left so much of it on. That's good enough, that's good enough. Well, you know what? In today's times, just good enough isn't good enough. You got to be better than the next guy. You got to be better. You got to be, what have you got that's going to drive those customers inside of your door? Okay? Your customers have choices. What are you going to do to make them choose you? So here I am. I'm going down the seam, following it. I'm really, this is the most lengthy thing right here, time-wise, because I really don't want to miss it. I really don't want to. I'm rolling, and basically I'm rolling it out, because this is one piece muscle right here. This is the best piece of the whole top sirloin butt. This is also referred to as the Sirloin Fillet. Could be called a Sirloin Petite Fillet. Could be called baseball steaks. A lot of different names. You know, it all depends. Your marketing, the names of your steaks, all depends on your location most of the time. You know, a ribeye can have 3 different names. A strip steak, a shell steak, same cut of meat. One's got a bone, one doesn't have a bone. Okay, so there we are. I'm just about at the end. Just getting ready to make my separation. Now this, when I said to you earlier that I thought this was a very undervalued piece of meat, that's because of all this heavy connective tissue in here. go into a grocery store, you see them sirloin steaks, they got sirloin steaks on sale. They're cutting right through this. They're not separating like I'm doing. They're cutting right through it, and they're leaving all this connective tissue on there. And oh my God, when I worked in the grocery stores, I just never wanted to see that. But that's what you see. That's, unfortunately, that's what they do. You know, in the restaurant world, you don't have to do that. You got to make it better. So I'm at the end now. I'm going to make my cut. That's done. Now I have separated the larger sirloin from what we call the sirloin fillet. Okay, take a little bit of this off of here. Look at that, I got a little bit more byproduct there. Too good for burger. There we go. Doesn't get wasted. I'll show you in a little while. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to remove all of this. You don't want this on a steak. Look at this. I'm going to be able to barely cut this with my knife. I'll show you how thick it is. That's all got to come off of there. This is what will separate you from a lot of other people. Pull over cut, nice and clean. No meat on here. Okay, boom. Get an idea how thick this is. All right, you don't want that. You definitely don't want that in your steak. You don't want it in your roast. You don't want it in your stew. You don't want it anywhere. The only place you want that to be is in the garbage. Not even the fat pile, but the garbage. Okay. Now I'm going to go back and take a little bit more off of this. Okay. Okay. This could be referred to, like I said, as a sirloin fillet, baseball steaks. We're going to come back to this in just a minute. Right now, I'm going to leave that little bit of fat that's on there because that will cook off nicely. Okay, we have no silver skin left. Basically, we just have nothing but a little bit of fat on there, which is flavor. We're going to come back to the bigger piece. We're going to finish up some trimming here. Again, usable trim. Take this off of here. Fat. You're probably wondering, why am I saving that fat and I'm throwing the other stuff away? Fat is valuable in moderation. In moderation. When you're doing a burger for your restaurant, you should be thinking 80-20. 80-20. 80 red, 20 white. Anything more than that have a tendency to be a little too fatty, too much grease on the pan. It shrinks up. You start out with a half-pound burger and you end up with 4 ounces. That's not very good. 80-20 is a great blend. Okay. So I'm just going to finish cleaning. Okay. Got a little bit of muscle down here I missed before. We're going to save that. Save some trim. I'm going to get the rest of this silver skin off of here, off the bottom. Okay. If you pull that silver skin over your knife, tilt your knife up slightly, you'll literally scrape the bottom of the silver skin and leave the red meat where it belongs, on the plate. A little bit more cleaning here. And this is fat. We can take that down a little bit. Now, you know, they're not all the same. Obviously, the muscle structure and everything is the same. But you'll find pieces that are much more fattier than others. Okay. All I'm doing here is cleaning, common sense trimming. I don't want to eat this. I don't want my customer to eat it. Okay. All right. Now, I can face this down. See, we got kind of an off shape here. If you see this, it's kind of like an off shape. If we were gonna make this into a roast, we would want it to be even, so it cooks evenly, cuts evenly, in even portions. So I want to just trim off this little bit here on the end. That's going to go in the trash because that's all connective tissue. But I also want to square this just a little bit. So, wow, look at that waist, huh? Well, look at that waist. No, it's not waist, you'll see. Okay, at this point, I have a decision. Do I want to make it into a roast? Do I want to make it into steaks? I want to do both. I want to do both. I'm going to take this. Remember, I took the connective tissue out of there when we took the petite off. All right. I'm going to go right down the middle. I'm going to go right down the middle. Okay. This right here would make a nice roast. This is called a jet netter, a great tool for the kitchen. One of my students' favorite questions was always ask me, Chef, should I buy whole animals or should I buy box meat? Well, the answer is yes and no. So I figured that one out. But the key is, if you're going to learn box meat, that's one thing. And I don't begrudge that. I don't belittle them. But if you want to really learn how to produce, really learn how to make money, really learn how to be cost effective and absolute extreme maximum utilization, you got to know how to cut this animal down. You got to know from nose to tail. You have to know that. All right, so now we got this netting on here. This is just a cotton stocking net that is very oven safe. Okay, we're going to just push this through. Okay. Cut that. This piece can go in the oven, just like that. Just like that. That's the netting on there will hold it together enough where you can do that. So you can roast this. This could be a sirloin roast. Nice piece. Pretty symmetrical. Should be no problem with this. So now this one I want to make into steaks. But I want the steaks to look nice. I don't want them to be sloppy. So we're going to take that out. Okay, we're going to hold on to that one. This is our roast. And we're going to take our baseball, or our sirloin fillet. Okay, and we're going to pull that one through as well. Okay. So we said this is a roast. We're okay with that, right? And these are going to be steaks. So let's start with this one. These would just be a basic sirloin steak. We're going to cut it about 1.5 inches thick. By leaving that net on there, it holds the shape quite nicely. Look at the size of that fillet. Well, it's not a fillet. It's not a fillet. It's a nice sirloin steak. Okay, so here I'm getting down to the end. What am I going to do here? I don't have enough for two. Definitely got enough for one. So let me cut the one. And then we got some byproduct. Let's put that over there. We're going to come back to that in a little while. Now these are big. These are quite large. They're thick. They're 1.5 inches thick. They probably weigh upwards of 8 to 9 ounces, maybe more. Now we take the better cut, the sirloin fillet. All right, and this particular case, I think I'm going to start on this end because it's a little bit more square. And I don't really need to do anything to that other than cut it. Okay. Now, as you're watching me do this, you should be thinking inside your head, what am I going to sell these things for? What's realistic? All right, now here we are. We're at the end again. I'm down to this triangular shaped cone piece. No, we don't want that. Let's take that back off of there. Get the net out of there, go into byproduct, and you have a smaller steak. Okay. So you got some flexibility here. If you want to run a special, you want to put something out there, we have a 4 ounce, we have a 8 ounce, we have a 10 ounce, okay? You got a lot of flexibility here because you're cutting it yourself. So again, is it worth it for me to buy whole animals? Yes, it is. But unless you're going to do your homework and unless you're going to learn how to do all this stuff, no, don't do it because you're going to lose your shirt in a heartbeat, all right? Look how beautiful they look. So the question is, what am I going to sell these for? I got to tell you, with the market the way it is right now today, you're going to be looking at upwards of $22 a steak. All right, and I'm just calculating in the protein. You got to add your veg, you got to add your starch and your salad, whatever you're going to do. But you could easily get $27, $28 for something this large. Okay. Another way you can handle it is you could make these smaller. Now these are 1.5 inches, so you can make them 1 inch and get maybe 3 or 4 more portions out of this. So again, flexibility. Why? Because you're doing it yourself. All right. Now over here, you find in your in your restaurants that the roast doesn't work. The roast is not for me. Okay, so that's fine. So then go ahead and cut these into steaks. Okay, nothing. It's the same thing. Just if you don't want the roast, cut them into steaks. No big deal. Okay, and again, then when you get down to the end, you take that little end off. We put it with our byproduct. So let's recap what we have so far. Remember, we bought a 16-pound piece of beef. It was a top sirloin butt. It cost us $4.60 a pound. And we're trying to show you why we call this thing the cash cow. One of my favorite lessons in school was to teach my students how to get as much as you possibly can out of every single piece of meat that you touch. So here, just in about 12, 15 minutes worth of work, I've produced sirloin steaks of different varieties. I've got culotte steaks, could also be referred to as sirloin strip steaks. I've got sirloin steaks that came right out of the middle, nice and thick. You can cut these much thinner and get more steaks. And I have this row was the nicest piece, the nicest muscle of that whole 3 muscle piece is called the baseball steak or the sirloin fillet. It's not fillet. It's often referred to as the poor man's fillet. It eats really well, it tastes really good, it cooks nice, and it looks like a filet mignon. It really does. But understand, it's not a filet mignon. All right, this is a poor man's fillet. And then I took and made a roast out of the same sirloin. So roasts don't work for me. Okay, take that roast and cut them into steaks. That's what this was. It came right off of there. Take the roast, cut it into steaks. It doesn't have to be a roast. Okay. Now, another item that you can make with this is you could take this piece of sirloin, throw it in the freezer for a couple hours, wrap it in plastic, throw it in the freezer for a couple hours, get a little bit of a chill on it, and then you could slice it super thin for like a shaved steak. That would be really nice. It'll be more difficult to do if it doesn't have a chill in it. It's got to have a little chill because this is just too soft, and most chefs might not have a raw slicer on hand, so give it a chill, and then you can sit there and you can shave it off real nice. Flavor is just over the top. Okay, so that takes care of that. I'm going to move these on. I want to now move into our byproduct to give you an idea of what we can do with something that, okay, you know, it looks like hamburger to me. No, this is hamburger. This is byproduct. Okay, so what do we got? We got a bunch of ends. We got a bunch of trimmings. What are we going to do with this stuff? We're going to shape it. Basically, we're going to square it up. Now, where's this stuff going? This stuff is going in my hamburger pile. This is where you got to be creative. Remember, we're in tough times right now. You got to be creative. Got a little silver skin on here I want to get rid of. Okay, remember where the silver skin goes in the garbage. Here, again, I want to square that up a little bit. Square this up a little bit. I'm going to take all of this and do the same thing. Got to be a little bit of an artiste. Okay, now here. See, most people will look at this and say, oh, I don't want that. That's got, well, that connective tissue in there. Okay, good. So then let's take the meat off of this side of it and save it. Let's take the connective tissue out and toss it. That gives me another piece. See? Trim, trim. Square it up. Okay, again, this is all house ground sirloin. Does it look too lean? Maybe it does. Maybe we need to look at that, see how much we got. Then maybe we need to throw a little fat in there. Get that 80-20 blend. That's okay. Don't throw this away until the very end. Okay. Now this is a nicer piece, but we still got to square it up a little bit. Been there, done that. Okay. Now, at this point, I'm going to make sirloin kebabs. Okay.
Small plate.
Appetizers, small plate. Okay, 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many. You got to ask yourselves what's going to work for you in your restaurant. How many am I going to put on a stick? Am I going to put maybe a shrimp in between them, a scallop? Maybe am I going to do vegetables? I don't know. Whatever works for you, I don't know. I'm just showing you what you can do with this meat. Okay. Try to keep them the same size with a reasonable tolerance. Okay, that's the key right there, reasonable tolerance. You don't want to put a kebab piece on the stick with a kebab piece that big next to it, because they're not going to cook the same. If they look alike, they will cook alike. Even if you got to trim it down a little bit, we're not throwing anything away. See, I'm doing sticks of 4. Because I think that works. I've used it in the past with my catering business. And, you know, maybe you got a major kebab business. I don't know. Maybe you take a few steaks off, and you make everything else into kebabs. I don't know. I don't know what works for you. You know what works for you. Obviously, the more symmetrical they can be, the better they'll cook, the better they'll look. All right, now look, we're getting a little bit big on these. So why don't I just cut that in half? All right. We don't need something that big. This is going to be a quick fire. Hot flame, and you're done. Okay. And on, and on. So far I've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sticks. I'm going to make 8 sticks because I'm thinking that you're probably going to want to sell these in pairs of 2. So there's a portion, there's a portion, here's a portion, here's a portion. There's 4 portions of kebabs. What are you going to get for it? I don't know. Okay, I have a good idea. I would imagine that you could put some scallops or some shrimp in between there and some veg, and you're going to be getting maybe $12 for 2 sticks. Okay? Do the math on that. 12, 24, $48 right there on what most people would have put in a hamburger. $48. Now, of course, you got to take out whatever you're going to put with it, and you got to take out your labor and everything else. But we're talking here, we're talking your potential earning, your potential gross income on this piece of meat. Okay? Okay, so what do we got over here? We got burger. We got hamburger. Okay. There's nothing here that I wouldn't eat. Does it look a little bit fatty? Okay, let's take some more fat out. Look at that. That's a sirloin burger. Grind it up. Away you go. Okay. Here we have now the finished product of a 16-pound piece of meat. We have 3 pounds of unusable. So that means we have 13 pounds of yield, obviously before cooking. Very important that you understand that, before cooking. What are we doing here? Okay, so we have enough usable trim, nice lean sirloin. It was a little bit too lean, so I took a little bit of fat from here and I put it in here. And I've got almost 2 pounds, or enough to make 3 8-ounce burgers. Right here, no problem. Small little grinder that you might have in your kitchen is no problem. Grind it through a couple times, you got nice little burgers. Here we have our kebabs. I'm figuring 2 sticks per portion. Okay, 2 sticks per portion. 2 sticks, I would imagine on an appetizer could be upwards of $12 an app, and you have 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4 at $12 per. Your burgers, 8-ounce in-house sirloin ground burger, you're looking at $12, $13, $14. Top sirloin fillet. Every location has a different price. You got to understand that, okay? What I can sell here in my little town, I cannot sell someplace 2 hours north of me, so to speak, okay? And what they can sell in New York City, I cannot sell up here, because it's like real estate. It's all about location. Okay, so the top sirloin fillets, I'm going to be conservative, and I'm going to say $20 to $22 a portion. We're going to go to the regular sirloin steaks. Still sirloin, but not quite as good as this muscle was. I'm going to say here you're looking at $20 a portion. The Culotte steaks, sirloin strip steaks, I think conservatively we can look at $19 a meal. $19. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at $19 a pop. The sirloin roast. Let's freeze it, semi-freeze it. Let's get it on the slicer. Let's slice it paper thin, and let's make Philly cheesesteak sandwiches out of this. And you have enough here to make 8 portions. This is just under 2 pounds. This is a little over 2 pounds. By the time you shave that, you'll have enough to make, I'm thinking, 7 to 8 portions. You do all the math on all of this, a piece of meat that cost us $73, $74, gave us a return of over $500. Okay, what an amazing return on your investment. If this is not the cash cow, I don't know what is. Okay. My name is Mark Elia. I have been a butcher my entire life. It's an industry that I just adore and love. I spent 13 of my best years teaching my craft and sharing my passion at the Culinary Institute of America. I just recently retired from there, and now I am working diligently to educate you, so you can increase your bottom line, so you can stay in business. Don't be one of those guys that close the door. My mission is to keep you in business. Beef Council should be your ideal arm for education. There's no one better that will support you more or educate you more than the New York Beef Council. Thank you.